Thank you. Sorry for the mix-up.
No problem. Okay, we're good to go.
All right, so we'll call the meeting to order then, Dan. It's May 13th, 2020. It's 6:02 p.m. Would everybody who's on, either on audio or video, introduce themselves so we know who's here? This is Frank Manfredi, Chair of the Commission.
My name is Tucker Braddock. My name is Tucker Braddock, and I chair the Harbor Commission in Norwich.
Okay, thanks, Tucker.
And we also have Jason Vincent from NCDC and Regan Miner from the Historic Commission.
Okay, hi, Jason. Hi, Reagan.
Hi, everybody.
All right.
Hi,
Can everybody
Reagan.
hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Frank.
Okay, good. So right now what I've got is me, Dan, Tucker, Jason, Reagan. Anybody else?
Les King's on.
And Les? And Les?
Yeah, I can.
Okay,
Hi,
hi,
Les.
Les. Okay. All right. So we've got, everybody- I'm sorry?
No, go ahead. You're echoing for some reason, but seems to be
I'm
okay now.
echoing? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know why. We've got everybody introduced. Could we just have a motion to approve the minutes from the March 11th meeting, if we can do that?
Motion to approve the minutes from the March 11th meeting. Tucker
No,
Braddock.
I'll second that. I'll
Okay,
second
so we
that,
have a
Les
motion.
King.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Am I still echoing like that, Dan?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
why.
I can't figure out why.
I've just got my phone on. I don't know what else. I don't know what to do, but
The key thing
we've
is,
got
if anybody's not speaking, put your phone or your computer on mute.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Okay, so I have everyone muted except for you, Frank.
all right, hopefully, am I still echoing?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, we had a motion and a second. I assume everybody's in favor of approving the minutes, so I'm going to call them as approved. Under old business, we have none. New business, we have review and discuss the chapter on leverage assets. Do you want to lead that, Dan? And
Sure.
And then we'll move on from there. So I'll let you take over from here then, Dan.
Okay. So it's the chapter entitled Leverage Assets. The section is entitled Capitalize on Historic Assets. It's pages 22 and 23 of the implementation element and 52 through 55 of the strategic element. Subsections protect historic resources and support historic preservation efforts. So I have the pages on the screen. Regan prepared a PowerPoint that I'm going to share. I'm going to let her go through that at this time, if that's all right with you, Frank, and then we can have any discussion after that. Okay.
So,
I'll bring that up.
okay. Now on the website, is that the leverage assets? Is that what we're looking at?
There is a PowerPoint, POCD PowerPoint, May 13th, 2020, in that folder on the website.
Oh, okay, I see it now. Yeah, down at the bottom.
So Frank, I'm going to mute you and I'm going to unmute Regan.
All right, that's fine.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Many of you know me already, but if you don't, my name is Regan Miner, and I'm the Executive Director of the Norwich Historical Society. The other hat I wear in the city is Chairman of the Norwich Historic District Commission, And so what I'm just going to do is give a brief overview of what specifically the Historical Society has been working on over the past couple of years in relation into how it relates to the POCD plan, specifically on how we're capitalizing on Norwich's historic assets. Dan, please advance the slide. So if you don't know anything about the Norwich Historical Society, we were formed in 2001, and our mission is to preserve, protect, and promote the rich history of Norwich, Connecticut. We are a 501c3 and a nonprofit organization run by a part-time executive director, which is me. A lot of people get confused regarding the Historical Society and the Historic District Commission. I think it's because I'm essentially the head of both organizations, so I think that confuses everybody. But just for everybody's reference, the Historic District Commission is separate, completely separate organization from the Norwich Historical Society. Please advance the slide, Dan. So one of the ways that the Historical Society has capitalized on historic assets in the city of Norwich over the past few years was the development of the Walk Norwich Trail System. And I know I mentioned this at a couple POCD meetings in the past, so forgive me if I'm repeating any information for you. The Walk Norwich Trails are a series of historically themed self-guided walking tours. We have 4 main trails, the Uncas Leap Trail, the Benedict Arnold Trail, the Norwich Freedom Trail, and the Millionaire's Triangle, which we just finished recently. The Freedom Trail and the Millionaire's Triangle we just finished this year. So those are our 2 newest trails. The trails are comprised of brochures that you can pick up outside of the visitor center, the Norwich Heritage and Regional Visitor Center, interpretive and wayfinding signage, and also on the website at walknorwich.org, you can view all of those trails and information right there. Many of the sites that are on the Walk Norwich Trails are located in either National Register Historic Districts or local Register Historic Districts, so this helps raise awareness of Norwich's numerous historic assets. Actually, next slide, please, Dan. Thank you. The self-guided trails started with guided walking trails, as you can see in the images here. The Norwich Historical Society does numerous guided walking trails throughout the year with our Second Saturday tours and our Walktober tours, which are really popular. And they also help showcase Norwich's historic assets. Given the current situation that we find ourselves in, like most organizations, our programming has kind of ceased at the moment, and we've had to cancel most of our walking tours that we had planned for the spring and early summer. But because of that, we're switching more towards virtual programming. And I'm excited to say that I just received a grant from the Last Green Valley to make our Walk Norwich Trails more virtual and have a more virtual experience for our members and visitors to Norwich. So stay tuned for more about that on our Facebook page and website. So I'm excited to work on that moving forward. And we're also working on some distance learning materials on the Freedom Trail specifically for Norwich students. We recently got a grant to do that as well. So I'm pretty excited about that. So we're still trying to find ways to connect people to Norwich's historic assets, at least virtually during this kind of interesting time that we find ourselves in. Please advance the slide, Dan. So one of the other things that we're working on to capitalize and protect and preserve Norwich's historic assets is we have a number of building restoration projects going on right now. Back in 2018, the Norwich Historical Society and the Society of the Founders of Norwich, who own and operate the Leffinwell House Museum, formed a partnership to restore the other 2 properties that the Society of the Founders of Norwich own. The 1772 Joseph Carpenter Silversmith Shop, which is indicated in the left image, and then the circa 1763 David Greenleaf House, which is located in the right-hand image. Both of these are in the Norwich Town local historic districts, and both of them had, particularly the Greenleaf House, had suffered from decades of non-use and was a blighted building at this point in time. The Carpenter Shop was regularly in use, which was great. However, it still needed some extensive structural repairs, which we're currently working on right now. The image on the left, which is of the Joseph Carpenter Silversmith Shop, showcases the brand new roof that we put on the building recently. It's a beautiful red cedar shingle roof. And then the building to the right, which is the Greenleaf House, showcases some of the rear exterior work that we did. We repaired the clapboards and restored the 6 windows that you can see in the rear exterior of the property. And more work is being planned on both of those buildings. For example, with the carpenter shop, the little red gambrel structure, we're working on the foundation right now, and we also worked on restoring the chimney. We're going to do other clapboard and window repairs as well moving forward, and putting a gutter on the back of the building to help with drainage. The Greenleaf House is going to undergo some extensive rehabilitation with the ultimate goal of making it an adjunct space to the Leffingwell House Museum, which is located next door. Our goal is to make it a multi-purpose event space so we can host lectures, programs, workshops, etc. in that building. Please advance the slide, Dan. Another win regarding protecting Norwich's historic assets is the Peace Calkins House, which is located at 232 West Town Street. I know many of you probably saw the Day article back in, I think, early March about the proposed demolition of the structure. And this has not hit the news yet, but I feel like I can tell you guys at this point. I'm pleased to say that there is a contract issued by the Calkins Family Association to purchase the property. And if all goes according to plan, they plan on closing on the property at the end of May. So they have a contract to buy, they put a deposit on the house, and again, if all goes according to plan, they will close by the end of the month, which is very exciting because that building was likely going to be demolished if a buyer had come forward.
Regan, can I interrupt your flow for a second?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
You know, but for the Historic Society, that property's been on the market for over a decade at least. And the Historic Society reached out to see what could be done to save the property. They caught some flack for trying, but ultimately the Historic Society was able to connect the property owners with a buyer that was interested in buying it. Because, you know, like nobody had poked around and was interested in this property, and they ultimately found the solution. So kudos to you guys for trying there.
Thank you. It was a lot of work, but we're very pleased by the outcome. The Calkins Family Association hopes to turn the building into a maybe museum, genealogical library. They're not entirely sure yet, but they want it to eventually be open and accessible to the public, which would be really great. So we look forward to continuing to work with them to help restore the property and see that vision come to fruition. Please advance the slide, Dan. So one of the other things that the Historical Society has been working on is we've been really trying to capitalize on Norwich's historic assets to increase our heritage tourism efforts. There's a group of dedicated individuals who really feel like Norwich has enough to offer that we could really become a heritage tourism destination. The likes of, you know, Mystic, Historic Deerfield, Salem, Massachusetts, places like that. So we've been spending a lot of time over the past couple of years really trying to figure out how we can take advantage of our rich historic and cultural assets to make Norwich a destination that people want to come visit and spend time and money for either a day trip or, you know, spend a weekend and then maybe even a week here with everything that we have to offer. So we started this conversation, I think back in fall of 2018. We had brought a heritage tourism consultant to Norwich to talk to the city council about ways that we could increase our heritage tourism efforts. And that seemed to be very well received by the council. We then therefore received a grant from the Connecticut Humanities to kind of make a business plan to lay the cornerstone on how we can actually get Norwich to be a heritage tourism destination. And we engaged a great consultant. He's on the call, if you don't mind you don't mind me calling you out, Jason. But we approached Jason last year when we originally got the grant to develop our business plan. And so we've been working closely with Jason over the past year to kind of lay the groundwork to get this thing off the ground. So we're really excited about that. And we hope to have a final document to share with the public in the near future. We're kind of in the final stages of fleshing all these details out. So we're pretty excited about it. Next slide, please. One of the areas in Norwich that I know everybody has a deep affinity for is the Uncas Leap Heritage Area. And there was a dedicated group of people starting, gosh, I think a decade ago, maybe 12 years ago, who wanted to try to capitalize on this historic asset in particular to really showcase its rich history and its natural beauty. And over the years, there's been numerous studies done on the property. And Jason, if you want to speak to those, I would welcome your participation. But I just wanted to include Uncas Leap because this is another example of a property that has multiple stakeholders, the Mohegan Tribe, City of Norwich, area residents, the Historical Society, all trying to come together to capitalize on this historic asset to, number one, preserve it and protect it, but also make it a destination for visitors to the city and also residents to enjoy. Jason, if you want to jump in on anything.
Yeah, just a couple exclamation points. Just a couple. I think this is one of the region's best cultural assets because it connects with the Mohegan Tribe, one of our major one of our major business entities within the region, and it's more important than that. It goes back to the foundation of the community, this tribal battle that happened between the Mohegans and the Mashantucket and the Narragansetts. But then it also showed that the Mohegan Tribe was aligned with the American Revolution, and they've had tribal members that fought in every battle that the U.S. government's been involved in. And there's just layers of stories there where this tribe connected with the founders of our country. And I think it's got layers of opportunity for it to be a national cultural site. So and kudos to Bill Champagne, who back in 2010 or so, the property was being foreclosed and he pushed the city to keep it instead of putting it up for tax foreclosure. And that initiated a whole series of different plans to, we've done brownfield studies, developed a master plan. And what's impressive to me is the master plan's a $3 million project that already has earned $1 million in funding from various sources, very few dollars of which came from the city. It's mostly state and grants that have been able to be sourced because other people see this as a really valuable asset for the community and region.
Thank you, Jason. Please advance the slide, Dan. So I wanted to specifically mention ways that the Historical Society has continued to encourage historic organizations to recognize significant historic resources through signage, publicity, and ceremonies. And I think that was one of the strategies listed in the POCD. So I just wanted to specifically mention some things. The Historical Society has been hosting the Samuel Huntington wreath-laying ceremony for the past few years. Samuel Huntington was a signer of the Declaration of Independence, and some even say, and I say this, that he was the first president of the United States because he was president under the Articles of Confederation, which was our first governing document for our nation. So every year we honor Samuel Huntington with a wreath-laying ceremony around his birthday in July, or in the past, we've tied it into other historical reenactments going on in the fall to increase awareness of the site and also to get a really great attendance. One of the things that is going to happen this coming fall is the Ellis Walter Ruley Memorial Park was approved to be listed on the State Freedom Trail. So in September 2020, we're working with the State Historic Preservation Office and the Connecticut Freedom Trail to have a ceremony. The state will come down with our formal marker, and it'll be a really nice time to have a group of people celebrating Ellis Ruley's important history here in Norwich. So more information on that will come in the near future. In regards to signage, I already kind of touched on the Walk Norwich project, which has a number of interpretive signs at key historic sites across Norwich, detailing the history of that important site and the people who either live there or played a role there. Public Works is being really awesome, and they're going to install the 5 interpretive signs that we have for the Freedom Trail and Millionaire's Triangle Trail, and I'm told they'll do that in the near future. So we're pretty excited about that. And other things like the Historical Society does programs such as lectures. I've mentioned the walking tours briefly, and we host historical reenactments, which all help raise awareness of our historic resources. And the other thing I wanted to note, and I think I've mentioned this before at past meetings, but the Norristown Village District Overlay Zone was completed. I did that when I was pursuing my master's degree in public history at CCSU, Central Connecticut State University. And that was part of the project that I did for my capstone project. And I did that as, I guess you could say, a student under Deanna's leadership. She helped me with that project. So that's one thing that's been done related to historic districts, because I know historic districts was also mentioned in this section of the POCD. Please advance the slide, Dan. And other things that can be done. I did complete a Preserve America application, gosh, 2 years ago now, or a year ago. And I don't know whatever happened to it, frankly. I did submit it to the federal government, and then I heard back that they were not sure what the status of their funding was, and then I never heard back in general. So I'm not sure where that went, but that's something that we could follow up on. Norwich is a certified local government, a CLG, which is great because that gives us opportunities to apply for grants that other communities cannot apply for. So I've already spoken with Deanna and Jason about some projects that we could apply for and take advantage of this unique status that Norwich holds. One of the items listed in the POCD was consider preparing a cultural resources plan for the city, which we're excuse me, completely open to do if the city is interested in something like that. Other things we can do is continuing to promote our rich historic assets to the community and continue to provide resources for residents in local historic districts. Switching hats real quick, I'll put on my chairman of the Historic District Commission hat. I'm currently working on a brochure for residents in the districts and also just members of the community and city staff, giving some information about the local historic districts because I get so many questions. I figured I might as well just make a brochure and a document that will hopefully answer everybody's questions to lessen my load a little bit on the phone and via email. So that's one of the things the Norwich Historic District Commission is working on is trying to get more resources out to residents and also get resources out to the city staff to help them as well. So that is me. That's done. I'm done with all of my presentation. I'm happy to answer questions if anyone has it.
Well, another exclamation point, if I can, on your comments.
Sure.
Deanna Rhodes discovered that historic properties can be exempted from flood regulations, which allows people to invest in historic properties without having to fully comply with the substantial improvement limitations, which could force some properties to be demolished and rebuilt to different standards. And that enabled Panema Mill and several other projects to go forward. But also Deanna's work led to other towns changing their local rules because it was really about understanding how the local rules intersected with federal law. And Deanna understood that and she advocated for it at the state level, and other towns have been able to take advantage of it. So one of the great things about the historic districts, there's two different types, the local ones, which Regan mentioned she's working to create informational documents about because it's regulatory. But the other 9 that the city has that are national register are recognition programs that now enable those properties to be eligible for other activities like historic preservation tax credits, but also this exemption from flood regs. So, kudos to Deanna for discovering that. And I know from working in Stonington, Stonington followed her lead, and we were able to identify 700 properties that would be eligible for that exemption and saved. So I give her a lot of credit.
I agree. Kudos to Deanna. That's awesome.
All right, Regan, this is Chris LaRose. This is fantastic. I think this is just really exemplifies the history of Norwich. But I was just wondering, in what we're going through right now, have you come across anything on how Norwich made it through the Spanish flu and other pandemics?
That's a good question, Chris. I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to do a little digging for you. My area of, I guess you could say, expertise is, colonial Norwich. That's my favorite area to study. But I can certainly do some digging and get back to you, because I'm not sure.
Well, I'm not even for me. I'm just thinking about something that'd be a great news story, or something showing back other historical aspects of Norwich.
No, that's a great idea. I can certainly look into that.
It's a great idea because there probably is a good record that exists because of Norwich being having its own newspaper and other tools and so many people that wrote about the city. This sounds like a Dane project.
Yeah. Well, I was even just thinking a lot of the microfilm for the newspapers are at Otis Library. So I'm wondering if I could reach out to anyone on staff if they're still in the building or not, and maybe they could help me look for a few resources. So I'm happy to answer any other questions, or I'm happy to turn it back over to Dan and move forward.
Okay, I'm going to unmute Frank at this time. Frank,
Okay. Yes, I am, Dan.
Okay.
I didn't. fall
Thanks,
asleep.
Regan. I think if we just go through the implementation tables, we can move along. I think you hit a lot of the points on these, but I would defer to you, Frank, if there's anything specific that you want to touch on that in any more detail.
No, I mean, I think what Reagan just went through was very thorough and really covered all aspects of the implementation tables, unless somebody has some other stuff to add to that. I mean, Reagan did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, Reagan, you do so much with this area. I do want to let you know that Calkins House is supposed to be closing next week.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we've gone through a lot of ups and downs with it, but I think it's going to happen next week. So.
Good job, Frank.
That's awesome.
Well, I didn't do much. I represent the owners. I've represented them for years, and they're very happy to be selling it. They really didn't want to demolish it, but it had been, on the market for years, and nothing had happened until they put the demolition sign on it. That caught everybody's eye and got things moving. So, in any event, as far as that goes, I think we've covered all the implementation tables. Does anybody think that we have anything else on the agenda that we need to go through?
I think the PowerPoint was very thorough, and I thank you again for putting that together even on such short notice. I just add
Yeah,
one quick thing to what Jason and Regan were talking about is we've been kicking around the idea of getting Thamesville added on some kind of level as a historic district to work with the buildings down on Shipping Street and some kind of rehab and redevelopment down in that area. And,
Can anyone hear my, can you hear my voice now?
yeah.
This is Tucker Braddock speaking. I think I've lost it from my phone, but when I'm talking to the computer, I'm getting a lot of background. So I won't make this comment now.
Chances are, Tucker, it's not just the microphone, but you also have the speakers on for the computer. So you know when you have two systems going, that creates the echo effect the most. So you'd have to delete one of them.
I did. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's still showing up as having two. You're logged in twice.
Okay.
Okay, do we have anything else on the agenda that we need to discuss at this point? I see the reminder for the July 8th meeting. Is that, we still planning on that to be another virtual meeting, Dan?
As far as we know at this point, yeah, it will probably be virtual.
Okay. I think we've covered everything other than maybe the coastal resources, or that's for the next meeting.
That's for the next meeting. Yep.
Okay. So unless anybody has something they want to add at this point, I think we can take a motion to adjourn.
Yeah,
Anybody?
so power to do that.
Yeah. Did I hear Les make a motion?
Yeah, yes, you did.
All right. And do we have a second?
Second.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. Do we need to take a formal vote? Otherwise, we're adjourned.
I think we're all set. We'll call it at 6:31.
All right. Well, thank you, Dan, for all your effort to put this together. Thank you, Reagan, for all of your efforts and the PowerPoint presentation. That was very, very thorough and informative. And Jason, for all your input. And everybody stay safe and be well.
Thank you, Frank. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Frank. Goodbye, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.